Hello guys, and welcome to another day with Zimaleta. In today's video we're going to talk about the winter and the problems that come with the winter, and hopefully this will help you eliminate some of those problems, some of those headaches, because I'm actually kind of cold right now. I'm like shivering in here. Of course I am in my garage right now, and outside it's 60, but man, it sure feels like 50 right now. Like, actually, it's not 60, it's actually 50. Seriously. I looked at the weather today, it's 50 degrees. Like yesterday was 60, I'm supposed to have like 66. But anyways, I'm kind of cold and I'm freezing, and this made me think, well, sprinter problems happen the most in the winter time. The most. We have all kinds of issues. So let me cover some of the issues in this video. So please go ahead and actually hit that like button right now and subscribe to my channel, because I am the only guy here on YouTube that is trying to help all the sprinter owners around the world. Alright, first of all, let's go ahead and cover this. Belts and pulleys. Well, belts in the wintertime, they're a lot more drier than in the summertime, obviously, because they are not being kind of like, I guess, naturally oiled from just it being kind of like hot out there, and they're nice and stretchy. It's not that they're lubricated, they don't need to be lubricated, but at least they're not dry, and they're not like frozen, and they're not cold. Okay, so in the summertime, for the most part, the belts are fine. You know, they're serving you pretty good. But in the wintertime, these belts become, just because the plastic, the rubber, it becomes so hard, and it becomes kind of like plastic, and they become really brittle, and the belts, they rip in the wintertime the most. So please, please, please go anywhere to the parts store, or maybe go on Amazon. I'm gonna try to put like a list together of the parts that you need, and just go ahead and have some affiliate links down in the description below. If you want, use my links. If not, go to the parts store, pick up some parts. I generally try to look for the cheapest parts available, because I am not about to spend an arm and a leg on some parts. That's not the way you make money. That's not the way you save money. So I try to look for the cheapest parts available, yet without losing the quality. And of course, when I make my affiliate links, I only put the cheapest stuff out there. So yeah, if you don't want the cheapest, you want the best, don't buy my stuff, or shop around for better stuff, you know, because I'll look for the cheapest, because I am a believer in saving money and saving people money. And this is the only way I was able to get to where I am today, which is having a home paid for the past 4 years, doing all the work myself on a home. I'm a hardcore do-it-yourselfer. Not enough time in the world for me to do everything, but I'm trying to make time. So by me having my own house it's paid for, it freed up some time to actually work on some stuff that I actually really like, even though they really don't make me that much money, like this channel. But at least I love it, right? So you have to do what you love. So anyways, let's go ahead and continue. One of the other things that break, man, pulleys. Pulleys. Yeah, pulleys, man, they lock up and they just shatter to pieces, and they will just melt to bits because they're locking up. And one of the reasons this happens is because, first of all, they're dry to begin with. So at least in the summertime, things are still kind of warm, and generally some of that grease, old grease, might you know, melt off a little bit and make it to the proper places on the bearings where it needs to go, and that's okay. So that kind of helps you out. But in the wintertime, man, that stuff becomes kind of like becomes like hardcore grease that really doesn't make it anywhere. It just kind of sits on a wall over here somewhere, right? But the bearings over here, it just really doesn't really get to it. Man, this will fail in a heartbeat. Have some pulleys, guys. Pulleys that generally cost about 50 bucks at a parts store. Now online you could get them like for 20 bucks. I've seen as much as 6. Well, at least the 6, not as much. But anyways, I'm gonna find some pulleys, and I'm gonna link them in the description below so that you could have some pulleys. But gosh, I'm cold right now, and this reminds me of all the problems I had in the wintertime, and how much I had to how many times I had to repair the Sprinter in negative 15-degree weather in my mechanic suit. So yes, so that leads me to my next point, and we will get back to the bearings, but this is important. Go to Walmart or somewhere else, pick up yourself a full body mechanic suit, okay? Like one of those warm ones. You will need it, because man, if this is a winter time, chances are you're gonna be crawling under the winter many times. And the good thing about those, they're kind of like suits, and you could like unzip them, get your body in there with all your shoes completely and everything, and zip everything out. You don't have to even remove your shoes when putting that stuff on, and you'll keep your clothes like this nice and clean. That way you could kind of wear it, maybe take it off if you have like long sleeve, because yeah, they're gonna have some oil on them, some grease and grime. But you will be reaching into places that might be hot, so that suit is gonna protect you a little bit. And you're also gonna get like really dirty, because man, sprinters are just generally dirty underneath. I mean, they're diesels, oil leaking everywhere usually, and it's just diesel in there and just all kinds of dust and grime. But anyways, getting back to the pulleys, them drying out, they do break really easy. To replace them, it's also really easy. It's not difficult to replace them. Generally, it is a Torx 45, so you want to make sure you have a good Torx set with you. You need kind of like the Allen wrench style, you know, something small, because man, you're going to be dealing with about like 1 inch of space, maybe like at most 2. It's hard enough to squeeze your hand through there, you know, let alone get some kind of big tool down in there. So make sure you have yourself some choices at what kind of tools you could use. And sometimes a little torquey little thing not gonna really do you any good. I mean, if you can't really reach it and pry it. So one of the tricks that I use is I use, you know, something that's free and it's already in your kit. Make sure you have some kind of wrench set, okay? So take a wrench, the end of the wrench with a little loop on there. So stick a hole like this, you know, to the loop, and then, you know, just basically angle it like that the proper way, and use that to pry, you know, your Torx type of piece, okay? Now, if you have some kind of set that's kind of like a, I mean, I don't even know if they have those, but something that's like a low profile, that's a Torx with maybe like a wrench type of piece that you could get in there and just do it. I think those tools would be good. I think I just invented the tool. Probably did. I've never seen those. With the Torx bit, but you have the wrench and nice low profile. Stick it in there. Go ahead and get it, you know, unlocked. Possibly with even a back and forth motion, kind of like a ratchet set. Yeah, just invented the tool. But anyways, that being said, pulleys and belts, one of the most important things. The very next thing that fails, batteries. Batteries fail majorly. So my advice to you is, hopefully you get the best battery possible. Now, when I shop around, I usually get like something like a platinum battery. Especially for the winter time, this will keep your sprinter started a lot more often, because, man, you're gonna run into an issue with batteries. Why is that? Well, first of all, it's really cold, okay? Batteries hate the cold. Batteries hate the heat. You have to have the really good, high-performing battery. My advice, buy an extra battery. Have it with you. Chances are, yes, it's going to be a little expensive, I know. But chances are your battery is going to become weak due to cold, or maybe you're running your S-bar heater and you're going to be at a mercy of asking somebody to come out there and help you jump your vehicle. So in that case, make sure you have jumper cables. Buy some good ones. Don't be buying those cheap ones. Go buy some Cobalt or Husky, you know, really good with strong, you know, cables. The longest you could get it, the better. Because here's the thing. Now, it is difficult to get somebody willing and able to drive up to your vehicle and actually give you a hand and help you jump your vehicle. I've done it many times, but I'll tell you one thing is, nobody wants to do it. Even real strong men sitting inside of their vehicles. I don't know how to do it. It's my wife, you know. So, yeah, don't really expect people to help you. Unfortunately, people just care for themselves, and that is unfortunate. So, that being said, still have them. You're gonna need them. You know, somebody's out there gonna help you. Okay, not everybody's bad. Chances are, if it's an Expediting, he's gonna be willing to help you, because guess what? Somebody else maybe helped him before, or maybe I helped him on the channel. He's willing to help you. You know, you never know how it works. You know, right? It's a small world after all. You'll be surprised of like what I hear. I actually lost contact with one of my friends because I changed my number so often, and he broke down in Charlotte, and some tow truck was like, yeah, you should contact Zimaleta. He knows everything about sprinters and blah, blah, blah. He's like, what, Zimaleta? Wait a minute. I've heard that name before. He was telling me he was going to start something like a YouTube channel. Zimaleta. He emailed me, Zimaleta at gmail.com, and guess what? We got reacquainted again. Just because some guy was watching my channel, told my friend about my channel, and that's how we got reacquainted. But there was another driver that I met. I helped him out. He had he had a lot of issues, but he had a newer Sprinter, like a 2010, and it was just not performing. It was not even accelerating above 60 miles an hour. You know what was wrong? The turbo hose was off. It got off the turbo, and it's really not visible on that vehicle because you have to remove everything to even see it. And turns out he had it serviced recently with some, you know, with some kind of turbo to replace it, but they did not put the pipe on correctly. Yeah, you just have to do it yourself sometimes. You pay somebody to do it, and then they do that, and now it's not performing. And they might say you have a bad pipe or turbo, you know, and then they'll replace it and charge you more money. But anyways, where were we? Now, yeah, okay. I forgot where we're at. We're on batteries. We are on batteries. I've remembered. Okay? Yes, I go off track a lot. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's what happens. That's the way my mind wanders a lot of times. And I remember stories. A lot of times they're funny. But anyways, you want to make sure you have an extra battery because you might have a hard time finding a body. So at least you could jump yourself with that battery, or you could go ahead and replace the battery, whichever one you choose. I think jumping yourself by using a battery is a good idea, but that's not why I ask you to have a battery. Chances are your battery will just completely die, seriously, because of all the cold and it being outside and exposed to the elements. Maybe it was already old to begin with, it just died. Maybe one of the cells went bad, and guess what? At least you have a replacement battery, and now at least you don't have to wonder why my Sprinter won't start even though I'm getting jumped. Well, it's because your battery is just so dead, and it's an issue with the battery, but you don't know that until you try and install a battery. So always try the cheapest solution, guys. If your Sprinter's not charging, heck, throw another battery in there. Still, if it's still not starting, heck, throw a negative cable in there. If it's still not charging, put a second cable on your engine, a ground. Usually ground fails. So you know where the firewall is, where the negative cable goes to the wall? Unbolt it. Make sure those things are not rusted and, you know, whatever, that green stuff on there that build up, corrosion. Clean everything up. Make sure the wall is clean, you have in good contact, and then run go to, like, I don't know, Harbor Tool and Freight, buy yourself a cable, like a regular black cable that you use to connect batteries together, and put one on the wall, firewall, run another one straight to the engine. Find a bolt somewhere, make sure it's a bolt, plugs in, you know, and goes to somewhere in aluminum. So just, I usually put it right there where the intake manifold is, where some of those lines are for the fuel lines. You know what I'm talking about, for the fuel filter. So, you know, that being said, just add a second ground. Chances are that causes a lot of issues. Now, another issue that will cause your Sprinter not to start into the wintertime, and yeah, this is going to be a video about wintertime, so yes, don't expect it to be short. There's a lot of stuff I have to say, a lot of stuff, because I want this video to be kind of like, you watch it, you're like, okay, this is what I need to buy, this is what I need to watch out for, and that's actually what I'm about. So yeah, be patient, watch it all the way through. Believe me, it's gonna help you. And chances are I'm not even gonna make that much money on this video anyways, probably $1. So either way, I'm over here spending more time that I could have been actually making real money instead of making a video, because I want to help you. So subscribe, hit a like if you haven't hit one already, please. And yeah, watch this video to the end, even though if it's boring to you, but believe me, it's gonna save you money if you have a Sprinter. But anyways, okay, if it's not starting, here's another issue that could happen. Okay, and this is like a common issue that I'm looking at. So climb underneath your van and observe where your alternator is. Sometimes what happens is the alternator was not actually charging your battery like it's supposed to be, because a 10 or 13 millimeter bolt, one of those bolts, it's really loose, and yeah, they come loose. Sometimes maybe you didn't tighten up to begin with, maybe it got you know, loosened up because of all the rattling and stuff like that. It happens. I mean, engine has a certain resonance that it vibrates out. It could undo bolts really easily. This is why you see them undone, like on special like oil pans and stuff. Not only that they're oily, everything's just vibrating, the whole engine's vibrating, so bolts will come undone. You have to put Loctite on them sometimes, but don't put any Loctite on your alternator, please. You might have a hard time removing it to begin with. But make sure those bolts are nice and tight. Now, if they are tight and things are not starting, if your Sprinter starter is rotating, okay, well then it means your starter is not dead. But if your starter is not rotating, if you turn the key and you just hit a click, 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 well, it can mean that your starter is dead. It can also mean your starter solenoid has gone bad. It can also mean that you need a better ground, like I just explained. Double up on the ground, chances are you'll start it right up. Now, when you hear that little click, don't worry. It's not a bad thing yet. It might still actually start. So here's what you do, especially if you're somewhere at the warehouse, you just picked up a load and you shut your van off, which I say don't ever do. If you're over there picking up a load or you're fueling up at the gas station, please don't shut your van off. leave it running, because chances are you're gonna lose that load. It's gonna cost you about 500 bucks. Company might even dock you for that. Not only that you lost money, now you have to buy yourself some part, maybe alternator, maybe starter, maybe you have to buy a new battery. And you never want to lose your freight, because that might end up paying for your part potentially. Sometimes you just can't avoid it. You have to get new parts. It's unavoidable, no problem. You just want to make sure you catch it and you know exactly what's going on. Don't be upsold by these mechanics that are just trying to make money because their bills are so expensive, because their overhead is so high. So here's the thing. Now, here's what you need to do. If you hear the clicking sound, okay, don't panic. Now, start it again. Do a little click, click, go back, click, go back, click. Do it 7 to 10 times, sometimes maybe 13. Chances are it will start. But keep this as a good warning. Your starter is already being kind of like it's malfunctioning, and you just kind of need to buy a new starter, because it's going to happen again and again. And chances are, somewhere on the highway, you might have some kind of issue that you might be thinking with an engine, and you turn it off and you pull over, and you're not going to be able to start it back up again. Why am I saying this? This happened to me. I had some kind of malfunction happen, and it was happening. It was not starter related, and I turned it off. But guess what? Now it became starter related, because that starter actually was causing my van not to start. So what happens if that happens to you? Well, this doesn't always work, but a lot of times it does work. You're gonna need to basically go underneath the starter, underneath your van where your starter is, and take some kind of screwdriver with you. You might need to angle it a certain way. You might need to bend it. Make sure it's got a rubber handle so you don't get shocked, even though it's DC voltage. Maybe you're not gonna get shocked, but anyways, make sure you keep your fingers out of the electricity. You're gonna need to touch the two connectors on the starter. Chances are some sparks is gonna happen. If the sparks are happening and nothing's happening with the starter, that's bad. Keep doing it. Eventually, well, I mean, not like too many times, but it should start spinning. If it's not spinning, well, that's it. You're done. It's just bad. Maybe then at that point, because the starter's kind of dead anyways, I don't know, take a little hammer, and there's no room in there really, but figure out something. Maybe stick something metal in there and just tap it from the outside, on the starter. Maybe it will knock it loose a little bit. Maybe you're just done for that day and you just kind of need a new starter. So yeah, another word of advice, have a starter with you. Starter is actually really easy to replace. Just 2 bolts that goes through your transmission. I believe it's a E13 socket. Yes, it's an E socket. Don't take my word for it, man. A lot of these times I forget. I remove so many bolts, and I forget sometimes, even though I've done it hundreds of times. So make sure you have some kind of E Torx set. I don't know if I call them right, but E sockets. Okay, just buy some E sockets. Usually you could get some gear wrench sockets at Advanced Auto Parts. That's where I got mine. I'm gonna try to find some on Amazon, because they are kind of expensive at a parts store, so I don't really recommend that they get into there. Everything's expensive at a parts store. I mean, listen, they get stuff online and sell it to you for higher price, and sometimes they're more expensive than Mercedes. Seriously, more expensive than Mercedes. I had some stuff ordered. I'm like, this is a fuel filter. And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, you're selling it to me for 55 bucks. Well, it's only 50 at the dealer for original one, for a man fuel filter. Well, this is a higher brand, but I don't know about your brand. Never heard of it. That's not the original parts on Mercedes. Maybe it's good. I don't know. But I'm not paying you 55 bucks for that. I'm going to go buy one at Mercedes if that's going to be the case, Now, starters, it's really important to have with you. Battery is really important to have with you. Alternator is very important to have with you. It's very important to have a belt and pulleys. It is very important to have, some kind of jumper cables so that you could actually jump your vehicle. It's also important to have radiator fluid with you at the very minimum. Maybe buy yourself 3 gallons of water. Stick them on a step on the passenger side. 3 bottles should fit in there, or stick them on where the sliding door is. They fit on the step perfectly. Have some water with you guys. You won't believe how many problems you're gonna face due to just a simple pipe on the radiator getting busted. Sometimes a clamp will snap off because due to the rust, especially in the wintertime, finally You know what what they say, straw broke the camel's back. Well, I mean, a little bit more rust on there and finally just broke loose, and that's it. You know, you're done for. So make sure you have clamps, radiator clamps, have different sizes. Make sure you have some hoses. You know, hopefully you have original hoses. If you don't, you know, get yourself some similar hoses. At least you could do, I don't know, some kind of redneck repair and, you know, get somewhere to the next, you know, store so you could actually figure something out. If you don't have that, guys, you're going to overheat your engine. I mean, just think about it. A simple pipe could overheat your engine. And that leads me to my next story. One of the sprinters that I own was originally overheated by a driver, and of course it's got a different engine now. It failed again because he didn't take care of it, but that engine was overheated because radiator hose broke loose on him. He was in the mountains, and guess what? He thought he's gonna make it to the next exit. Well, he didn't. He overheated the engine, and the pistons just simply fell apart. So don't be trying to save money by not having extra hoses, because that's gonna be like really bad. Not having water with you in the wintertime, best not to replace with water. Have some extra radiator fluid, please. But in the summertime, water is going to work fine. But maybe if you just, you know, trying to put some water in there so you could get to the next exit, fine. That's all you got, fine. But replace it as soon as you can, okay? It's just going to be double work for you. You're going to have to drain it again and, you know, add some, maybe add not like 50% mix after, but add, drain a little bit, but then add like a full mix. You know, you want to make sure that water's not going to freeze. Otherwise, you're going to have a water pump broken, you know, just going to like bust out on you. You know, or you could have a, you know, shoot, like a cracked head that's going to come from, or like a cracked block because water got in there and now it's frozen over, and like, because you're like a negative 15 degree weather and ice expands, it's going to crack your block for you. That really, there's nothing to it. So that's not going to be good at all. So some of these cheap parts that you should have with you anyways, man, just have it with you, okay? Because listen, wintertime is rough. Wintertime, not only is difficult driving, it's just, man, stuff just fails, okay? Speaking of failure, that leads me to the next problem that fails. This is probably like a 30-minute video. High pressure fuel pump. It fails in the wintertime. It loves to fail in the wintertime. It's an expensive piece, not so expensive nowadays. You could pick them up for a lot less money. Usually, it is not broken. Basically what happened is you need to remove your high pressure fuel pump and tighten up the bolts that you cannot see from the outside. You cannot get to them any other way because they're facing the engine block, and or engine head rather. So you need to remove it and you need to tighten up the bolts, but you're like already probably lost right now. You're thinking, why should I remove it? What happened with the bolts? Let me explain. So what happens is, in the winter time, when it's really cold weather, the metal actually shrinks. Okay, yeah, that's actually what happens. It shrinks a little because it's cold. It's like shrinking, you know, it's shivering. It's cold like me right now. So it shrinks, and when it does that, because the bolts are loose in the back, a lot looser than they are, it actually causes like a gap between the two metals. There's two different type of steel plates that come together. I'm not going to get into the metal quality and stuff like that. It's not important. But what happens is it creates a big enough gap for diesel to escape. Usually it escapes right behind the high pressure fuel pump. You cannot really see it. It's really hidden. You cannot really even see where it's leaking from. It is, but it's leaking from the back where it's actually attached. And when it leaks, well, let's see what I want to say here, because I have a couple things I want to say right away, and I just need to think of one of them. So when it starts leaking, it actually makes it on your belt that spins, your serpentine belt, and that belt will ultimately go to the alternator. And what's going to happen is, as you're driving and this is slipping, here's what you're going to notice on your dash. Your battery light is going to start blinking. Yes, blinking. And you might be like, oh, bad alternator, gotta replace it, it's blinking. Then you replace the alternator, and guess what? It's blinking again, usually in the mountains. And if it's blinking, you'd be like, they sold me a bad alternator, I gotta get another one. Speaking from experience, I mean, who would actually tell you this kind of stuff, right? I will tell you. So anyways, it's gonna start blinking. There's no problem with the alternator, but it's slipping because the belt is a little bit oily due to the diesel, and not only did it slip in your alternator, it's getting ready to slip off completely off your car. Happened to me a little bit later on. And when it slips off, usually it's late at night, it is snowing, it's it's negative 50-degree weather, and now you have to disassemble your whole front end. You have to insert some kind of wooden blocks. Hopefully you have some 2x4s laid around that you could put some space or something else that's close to that. So it gives you space, and remove the fan and really get that stuff going. But you're gonna have to remove your headlights, bumper. You're gonna have to remove your radiator support, grill, you know, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I know a little job, but that's if you want to do it easily. But you know, it's not actually difficult to remove those parts. I mean, the whole complete light assembly is like 8 bolts. Grill assembly, we have like 3 bolts for the grill. You know, a couple bolts for the bumper. It's like, come on, it's no big deal. And then you have about 4 bolts holding your radiator support, you know, and then you can just tuck that stuff out of the way. Now, if you went that far, you could easily push your radiators a little bit out. You might have to disconnect your radiator hose, top one, not the bottom one. Just leave the bottom one alone. Keep your radiator fluid from leaking out. You might need to remove your plastic shroud. I've seen people just go ahead and actually completely get rid of it. Now, it's a little bit more dangerous because your blades are exposed on the fans, but it gives a little bit more working room because that plastic shroud on there, it really gets in the way. Really, a lot of repairs. So a lot of people just get rid of it. I'm not going to say to do it or not. I have mine on. I manage, but I've seen somebody get rid of it. It's a lot easier to work on. You could have a lot more access to remove your fan. Now, what happens is with the high pressure fuel pump, now before it ends up failing, you're gonna start noticing small signs. Make sure you notice small signs. And how do you notice small signs? Well, each time you wake up and you started your sprinter up, okay, run outside. Look at the front of your vehicle. What do you see? Do you see any droplets on, you know, in the middle, kind of like right below your belts, kind of like right there? Do you see anything like in the middle that's leaking, or like little droplets that's just drip, drip, drip? Not a lot. So you might like take a look at it, and that's happening. So you're gonna need to be cautious. You know, smell it. And a lot of times it's gonna be real tricky. Like, is this radiator fluid? Is this diesel? What's diesel doing down here? It's not supposed to be here, but guess what? It's probably diesel. Make sure it's not your radiator though. Radiator, you know, like clamps and stuff, but or you know, pipes, because yes, it could happen. But in the wintertime, usually, when it's snowing especially, it will start dripping a little diesel, and that is actually the first signs when it starts leaking. And why is it doing it first thing in the morning? Well, it's because it's really cold, engine's cold, the metal has shrunk so much that it's actually letting diesel through, and as it lets it through, you have those little droplets. So you might not have a bad case yet of it really going dysfunctional on you, just completely leaking out diesel, because yes, that's gonna happen. That is the end results. Happened to me. First I noticed little drips. I don't know what the heck they were coming from, because nobody ever told me. I mean, I learned everything myself. For the past 14 years now, I've been owning sprinters, and yeah, I've owned anything from 2002 to 2007. I have a 2012 now. I'm getting ready to buy 2008. I have 2004s through 2006. Well, 6 of them in the back right now. But anyways, that's a mouthful, right? So basically, look, I'm actually looking at the problem right now. I'm actually observing it as it happens in my mental video of me fixing it. But anyways, you have to catch these leaks early by first noticing the little drips. Of course, once it warms up, chances are you're not going to see any drips, but don't feel confident just yet, because chances are you're going to still have it the next day. So every day, look. If it's really cold outside, take a look if you're having drips, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to start driving somewhere, and you're going to have a load, and it's going to be like really far, but it's so cold outside, nothing's warming up your engine. It's just nothing's just warming it up because it's just so cold. So chances are your high pressure fuel pump, it's just gonna be so cold anyways. Even if it warmed up, the situation's so bad that it's just leaking anyways. Guys, I had an issue where I had this problem happen. My belt slipped off in Missouri 3 times. I keep putting it on, and then I learned that, okay, I'm just gonna fill it up completely with diesel. I slipped the belt back on. I really didn't want to disassemble it, the whole front end, and fix it at that time. But I had 3 days, which was good, and I had to get the load all the way to Michigan, kind of like deep in Michigan, and man, it was so annoying. It was like nighttime. Belt slipped off while I was fueling. I put it on. It stayed on for a little bit. Next exit, I pulled over for something, maybe like to get a snack. slipped off again. It's annoying. Put it on. It's night. You can't see anything. And then I decided that, okay, I need to just make sure I have a full tank of diesel, never pull over again, and just drive as much as possible, you know. So I made it all the way to Michigan, and then I went to fuel up at a speedy gas station, pulled in there, and filled up some diesel. And as I filled up diesel, my belt slipped off again. It was leaking so bad, guys. It was like diesel pouring, seriously. So obviously, yeah, that's it. But I only had like, I think like 80 miles to go for my destination, and I still had like a couple days left, because I go straight through. If I'm expediting, I go straight through. I don't wait for 3 days, because you don't know what's gonna happen those 2 days. You might be okay, you might not be okay. If something breaks on you, at least you could have time to fix it and work on it. So it's really important. So and it was like over the weekend. That's why it's like, I think I got loaded like Friday, needed to deliver it Monday, and this was a Saturday. So, you know, I ended up fixing it kind of like in that parking lot right there, and tighten up the bolts, and it took me about 6 hours to do everything because it was freezing cold. But anyways, I started like about like 1 o'clock in the morning, and finished at 6 a.m. That's already put everything together, everything's good. So I ended up putting some Loctite on the high pressure fuel pump, and that really solved my issue. So anyways, that being said, that's the issue with the high pressure fuel pump. Okay, so there's a lot more issues, but we're out of time here, and I'm gonna have to talk about these issues in another video, and believe me, that's gonna be good as well, because man, sprinters have nothing but issues, and if you know how to fix them and you know how to work on them, they could be the easiest thing to fix in the world. If you don't know what the heck you're doing, you have like no idea, it could be the most painful thing you'll ever dream of, and it's gonna put you to tears. You don't know how. All the forums, sprinter forums, they could be so misleading, because most of these guys, they're having a different issue that looks very similar to yours, and it is the specifics to the problem that really leads to these type of situations, you know, when it comes to it. So anyways, I hope you will check out some of the affiliate links below for the stuff that you need. If you just want to, you know, go ahead and buy it online, save yourself trouble of, you know, going shopping around. I buy everything on Amazon nowadays. Just do that. And if not, listen to the video, take some notes, go to the parts store, whatever you get your parts from, pick them up, and you're good to go. But anyways, guys, please hit a like on my video, don't forget it, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because man, I'm the guy that helps you stay out of the shop. So because I care. Take care of yourself, guys. God bless you, and see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye.
My name is Serge Zimaleta. I'm 37 years old, and yes, I experienced success after buying my first home for cash. Back in 2011, I was broke, but I learned to solve problems on my own. Now, I'm helping others to solve their problems. I know what pitfalls to avoid to stay profitable in business. Need motivation to be more successful in your life? Do you have sprinter, expedite, or business problems? Then subscribe. Let's find creative solutions to your problems. Hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of my helpful videos.